How many lies have we been told about Maccabi Tel Aviv versus Aston Villa? I am not a football fan. I'm not a great knowledge on football, but I'm telling you that what I'm watching on my television screens tonight is an Islamic insurgency that is gripping Birmingham. Ayub Khan, that Jihadi MP who was elected in the seat that Aston Villa is based in, he called up the irregulars and said that he needed to stop any Maccabi Tel Aviv fans coming to Villa Park. I will tell you in this video what the police have said, and I will tell you what I think we need to do, because the response to this has been yet another pandering to dangerous extremist jihadis. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all my videos as soon as they are released. Well, a senior police officer from West Midlands Police was on the TV tonight saying that the reason why Maccabi Tel Aviv had been banned from Villa Park was solely because of hooligan elements within the crowd and the fact that they'd had a fight with locals in Hamburg. And then he said, but in addition to that, we also took into account concerns from local residents. So it was solely about hooliganism, except it was partly about the international situation and indeed threats. Well, I say I'm no football fan, but Galatasaray, I think, is pretty famous. Aldershot and Millwall are pretty famous for going out and having fights. And okay, you wouldn't ban a British or English club from the English League, but Galatasaray are well known for being a nightmare wherever they go. They are racist Islamic thugs. And of course, they are allowed to come, and rightly so. I believe that football shouldn't be banned for the majority just because of a minority of idiots. So the basis of this discussion is this. Was West Midlands Police forced to stop this match, or rather stop Maccabi Tel Aviv fans coming to the match because of pressure, because putting Jewish boots on the ground in a Muslim area would be deemed unacceptable? I've talked on this channel on plenty of occasions, not that I'm anti-Muslim. I actually think the Islamic faith has done a great deal of good in the world. There'll be so many people so angry about that. But look, I'm not going to judge a religion by one or two idiots, and I'm not going to judge Maccabi Tel Aviv by one or two hooligans. What I'm going to judge is what has taken place in Birmingham. And what has that happened? A member of parliament has been elected solely on the Gaza jihadi ticket. He's one of these Jezbollah people that Jeremy Corbyn is so keen on with Zara Sultana. They're kind of a group, they're kind of not a group in the House of Commons. But what has happened is, there has been a vote on religious grounds. And now what this man has said is that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans shouldn't be allowed to Villa Park. Now, that security assessment isn't based on a petition with 2,500 signatures. I'll tell you what he's done. He's called up the irregulars, and that's what you're watching on your television tonight. The fact that they have now raised a militia force to go down and fight the fans. There are no Maccabi Tel Aviv fans at Villa Park, and still there is violence taking place on our screens, and still there are 700 police officers with more in reserve. What does that tell you about what the real issue was? Was it an issue of hooliganism, or was it an issue of threats of violence? I'm going to tell you something that we need to assert as a key principle. This is all to do with the tribal areas that I've previously discussed. The basic view in, Ladywood? The basic view in Birmingham Ladywood is that this is now a Muslim area where separate rules apply, and therefore the football club must comply with those rules. And one of those rules is that there is a boycott of Israel. Well, in Britain, and Birmingham is in Britain, it is in the United Kingdom, there is no boycott of Israel. There is no ban on football teams coming from Israel. Should the English Football Association choose to ban or not participate, that would be a matter for them. But actually what has happened is that it's now all to do with Islamic land being violated. And then we've seen this already, because we are moving towards a two-state solution in Britain, aren't we? Where certain areas have different policing. We've seen that tonight. If this was Liverpool, it wouldn't be happening. We've seen that there's a different level of policing. We already knew that there was a two-tier policing that existed. Remember that time when the police told members of the mosque to put their weapons back in the mosque and no more would be said about the fact that they were about to go out fighting the EDL or Tommy Robinson or some patriotic group. I forget which one it was. One of you will know. Please do say in the description. But there was so much double standards there. But next, the way that politics works in this area is different. When the police talk about consulting communities, what do they mean? They mean that they will go round community elders within the ethnic minority community and they completely ignore white people because we don't have elders of our community. Well, by the way, we do have elders of our community, you know. They're called the hereditary peerage. They are our tribal leaders, people like the Earl of Devon and the Duke of Devonshire and the Earl of Northumberland, or I'm making these titles up, I'll just admit it. But you know, those sorts of people were our tribal leaders. Those tribal leaders have been eradicated and now we consult with the ethnic minority tribal leaders. Similarly, the way that elections are run, you have family voting, which is where families will vote together. The total number of adults in the house will be the number of votes that dad gets in order to vote for whoever he is. And that vote will be on ethnic grounds and the political parties will operate on ethnic and religious basis. That's what's happening in the tribal areas. We need to abolish the tribal areas. If we had to send down the parachute regiment to get Maccabi Tel Aviv fans into Villa Park, that's what we should have done. And let me tell you something else. I'm not going to be blind in this video to the things that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans have been singing about. There's nothing funny about the killing of Arab babies. There's nothing funny about that whatsoever. And the people from Maccabi Tel Aviv within the fan group who've sung about that and who've attacked people on a racial basis should have been banned from leaving Israel, and the Israeli government should stand up for its duty for once in its life, stand up for its duty to do the right thing. But that's got nothing to do with Britain. In Britain, we say that this is the United Kingdom and you are required to run by the United Kingdom rules. And I think we need to start now doing much more of this taking back passports, because the friends of Ayub Khan and others, you know, they're not fundamentally British. They're separatists. They're trying to create tribal areas. They're trying to make Birmingham an independent Islamic country. Now, I will tell you something. Living in an independent Birmingham Islamic country probably won't be that bad, right? You know what? There's lots great about Islam, but I'm afraid it's not appropriate to happen in the United Kingdom. And so I'm going to say straight away that the police now need to look into this and they need to apologise. We need to abolish that safety group, because that safety group was dominated by lefties who simply wanted to ensure that we gave a kicking to Maccabi Tel Aviv rather than behaving in a reasonable and sensible way. And I'm going to say this finally. The violence that you see on the television tonight is symptomatic of the remarkable cowardice that we've seen in our political class and in our country. We were told that if if a Jewish club came to an Islamic part of Britain, there would be trouble, and there is trouble. Pandering to them has not helped. Apologising to them has not helped. Stopping fans who had a legitimate right to come has not helped. All we have done is given them a historic victory, another occasion when the sovereignty of an Islamic tribal area has asserted itself, where it's said we have the right to make a decision and the decisions we take supersede the decisions that ever take place in the British Parliament and indeed in the local council, because this is Islamic land and Islamic land may not be violated by the infidel. Tonight, this is an Islamic insurgency, and how we respond in the next few days is going to be absolutely vital. We should sack the police officers who've done this. We should clear out that safety trust of all the pro-jihad elements. We should clear out, by the way, the home office of those people who are jihadis. Remember what Tony Blair had a rule. He said, as long as you are an extremist but not a violent extremist, you are allowed to cooperate with the Home Office and you're allowed to be paid by the Home Office, which of course they all did. What an absolute nightmare that could possibly be. Can you imagine your policing being run by people who literally admit to being jihadis? So clear out the police, clear out the community safety group, clear out the home office of Jihadis. And also we're going to have to do what they're doing in Denmark. And what they're doing in Denmark is this. They've allocated places called non-Western zones. And that is to say that every area, every ward has been assessed. And those areas where a majority is not Danish, where the Danish is not the first language, where Christianity is not the predominant religion, there is now a moratorium on people moving into the area who are not Danish. And also, unfortunately, some people are being relocated. The decision has been made in Denmark that there will be no tribal areas. And in a multicultural society, you have to take account of integration, and you have to take account of the fact that tribal areas will exist. I think what we do now is we abolish the Birmingham Ladywood Islamic State, and we start to break it up, and we say that now we're going to start moving people out. And unfortunately, mosques may have to be demolished. And I'm sorry to say that. And the reason I say that is because they won't be viable anymore. Sorry, I explained that in quite a bad way. They won't be viable anymore because obviously there won't be the tribal areas in the way there were before, and they might have to go. But that's only what the church happens to the churches in many parts of Britain. So that's something that I think is a price worth paying. And so then we start to integrate people. So you will end up with a Muslim family on every street. But what you won't end up with is tribal areas. And I think that that is the route to integration, because if you have to live together, you have to get on with each other. Until next time, goodbye.